Welcome back to Wild, Wise and Curious, Embracing Our Journey, where we're excited to continue the conversation around all things peri and beyond. We'll continue to explore all our stories, challenges and importantly the wisdom we learn along the way. As usual, we'd love to chat with women just like you who might like to share your own perimenopause or post-menopause stories with us. We can't wait to chat with you. Hello, welcome to Wild, Wise and Curious. Today we've got Olivia with us and we're going to talk through Olivia's journey with perimenopause and beyond. So yeah, welcome to Wild, Wise and Curious, Olivia. It's lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
Okay, so the question we kind of ask most people, literally is just the opener, is, you know, how did you come to realise that you were in perimenopause? Was there anything obvious?
Big question.
Yeah, it's a bit wide.
And it's one of those things, you know, it's like when someone asks you what your favourite album is and your mind just goes blank.
Yeah.
And because there's so many things that lead up to it as well, isn't
Yeah.
there? And I think as well, it's hard for us to pinpoint something.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was definitely accumulation of things. And my mind is quite blank right now. I'm in the second to third of my cycle right now, so my brain is a bit...
Yeah, we feel you. Yeah, we have that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think one of the first things was like dry skin.
Yeah. Okay.
And having no idea what that was, and thinking that there was something wrong with the water in my house, and not realising that was a symptom. The hormone headaches.
Oh, yeah, they're lovely, aren't they?
That just were... I can last 2, 3, 4 days just before my period starts, and it's excruciating. No amount of Nurofen touches it. I would say the re-emergence of very tricky PMT/PMDD.
Okay.
So historically, really, really struggled with PMDD. And then over the last few years of my healing journey, have experienced such a massive shift with that I was like, I feel like I fixed it, you know, with inverted commas, and I moved away from that experience. And whilst pre-menstrually I was maybe a bit grumpy or irritable, it was nothing compared to what it used to be. And then having, like I say, this re-emergence of some of that experience, those thought patterns, and it was realising that was all possibly perimenopausal. Maybe the most obvious was my cycle, which had always been 28 days like clockwork, started to be incredibly erratic, and I planned things around my cycle, and I planned quite big things around my cycle, and then my cycle wouldn't play ball.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm finding, and that's so difficult because I started to do that. I started to plan things around it. So I was like, okay, that week I'm not going to do anything, and then my period didn't come, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've got so much planned next week because I planned it around my cycle, and then all of a sudden I've been a mess this last week because obviously my period didn't play ball.
No, and I remember you saying about what doing things in line with your cycle. So I thought to myself, this was a little while ago, right, I'm going to do that when I next have a period.
Yeah, but then you've not had one.
I've not had one since November.
Okay,
so, I mean, I'm hopeful that I'm not pregnant. And this is just part of the perimenopausal journey.
Well, that's part of the difficulty, though, in this time, isn't it? If we're trying to live within our cycles and stuff, and trying to be a bit proactive with it, and work with the ebbs and flows of what that brings. But then it goes completely out the window because you can't plan for it at all. It's so difficult.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's really tricky. And because I'd never done that, I'd never and it was when you said it to me, Lou, about planning things in line with your cycle, because someone else came on and spoke to us, Lisa, and she was talking about how your periods trick you every month. So you'll have these days where you're like, oh my God, I feel awful, and then the next day you come on your period and you're like, oh my God, that's what it was. But why do we forget that every month, or however many months it is? It's tricky. It is tricky. And I suppose when your cycles are like mine, I don't even know. I wouldn't even be able to tell you where I was in a cycle because
you're not
obviously not having a bleed.
So how are you feeling through your month then? So are you getting like surges of hormone around when you're... Are you noticing any difference?
I don't know. I think sometimes I kind of will feel a bit flatter than others. Other days I'll feel a little bit more overwhelmed. But then I'm like, is that my cycle? Or is that because I've got so many things going on?
Yeah.
And I'll be really honest, I sometimes just don't have a clue what it is. I don't know. I think I'm going to start journaling just because I think it would be a really good thing to do, because it'd be really good for the podcast as well to talk about noticing things.
Yeah.
Because I haven't had a period in maybe 4 or 5 months. So yeah, I will.
Because I have days where I'm like, oh, I'm feeling quite good today. Why is that? Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
You want that to be the go-to.
What have I done for me to be feeling quite good today? So the journaling helps just in that, having something to track. For me, it was becoming a way to be able to track my symptoms. But now it's it feels like it's just every day is different, and you don't know what you're going to get. It's like a box of chocolates.
Yeah.
The old Forrest Gump there.
You never know which one you're going to get. I like it. So, do you journal, Olivia?
Very sporadically, but I do cycle track. So I learned about cycle tracking a few years ago, and it was life-changing for me.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I mean, I do it in my own, again, erratic, sporadic way, but it's like recording my mood, my energy levels, my capacity, all sorts of things, and just noticing how it's generally it was really consistent through the month. Like day 18 would be my angry day, and it was almost like
you were able to track it like that. Wow.
And I know that towards like the end, like mid to end of my cycle is when I get emotional.
Yep.
So it's very rare that I cry in the first half of my cycle, but the second half, like almost anything set me off.
The Andrex puppy.
And I went to see Tina Turner the musical last week. I was like weeping at the end.
Was that because it was so bad?
It was so good. It was so good, yeah. But so knowing that these moods and the shifts in productivity and energy levels it could be mapped to my hormones is kind of liberating in a way.
Yeah, it's quite empowering, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wish I'd done that, because obviously if I don't get another period, how do I do that?
But it takes the secrecy away from it as well then, doesn't it? It's just you're not surprised by how you're feeling. It's like, I know I'm going to feel a bit like this, so I'm not going to do that. Kind of thing. So it's a really good way of living.
Yeah, and I think that's what perimenopause has started to take away, which feels scary and destabilising, because I don't like the word control, but I had a sense of certainty in the uncertainty, and now that feels like it's kind of been taken away.
Yes.
And it's like, what now? Like, where am I? Where am I? What am I going to feel? And not knowing that is quite scary. And also, I think, like one of you said, like not knowing whether it's like hormones or is it something else. Do I feel good because this is the first half of my cycle, or is it something else? Or am I feeling really sad right now because it's hormones and or something else?
And that's the thing, isn't it? Because we are, looking at it holistically, it's never going to be just one thing.
Exactly. No,
and so it's really hard. I think that's what's so hard to navigate. We're not just on a linear track here.
Yeah.
No. We've got all those things that are going on in our day-to-day lives, as well as all the hormonal stuff. And when they clash, it's just like, it's so difficult.
Yeah, it is.
So I don't know if you mind me asking about your PMDD and how you because you said that you kind of managed that for a while and then it's all gone. So what kind of stuff did you do to manage that to help you?
So connecting it to kind of this piece around how our experience, my experience, I think is so much more global than just that week.
Yeah.
It's so like you say, like everything is playing in. It's everything, and so I started to experience and believe that it wasn't just that week. It wasn't just my hormones. Yeah. It was probably exacerbating stuff that was present all the time. So weaving together a tapestry of tools that I started to kind of practice and integrate into my life, it healed me to such an extent that I think it had the impact on that week. So that week wasn't so bad anymore.
Wow, okay.
So it was all, you know me. So like the foundation was breath work.
Yeah.
Finding breath work and just the shifts in me that opened up and created was absolutely life altering. So I started to experience with breathwork, I started to experience all the things I've been reading about and been told about, and kind of had a cognitive, intellectual understanding around, but I'd not actually experienced. So just this, deep connection to myself, to something bigger than myself, to a space and a place of pure peace.
Wow.
Absolute peacefulness within me that I had never experienced before. And I really truly believe in the ripple effect of that. And so the more I did it, the more I practiced it, the more that somatic experience of peace became my reality and my day-to-day experience. So very much the foundation was breath work. And then on top of that, things like nonviolent communication and circles, and incorporating everything I learned into my life, and also seed cycling.
Okay, can you tell us what some of those are? The non-violent communication, because I'm intrigued, and I imagine everyone else will be as well.
Okay. So non-violent communication is a type of communication devised by Marshall Rosenberg, who was a psychologist in the 60s or 70s, I think. And I literally will tell everyone about it, and I share it with all my clients and in my circles, and it is, out of all the books I've ever read, that was probably the one that has changed my life the most. He actually didn't like calling it nonviolent communication after he labelled it and said it was more, because that was a negative, and it's actually more compassionate communication. So it's a way of communicating with ourselves. It's a way of communicating with other people with this lens of our needs and our feelings.
Okay.
And within the framework is a list or a wheel of our innate human needs, and a big list or wheel of our feelings. And even those in themselves was illuminating to me. I was like, we have these, what? All these needs. Yeah. As a living human being, we have all these needs. And I think most of the time, most of us move through this world not knowing that or understanding that. And not knowing and not understanding means that we're not meeting them. So we go through life feeling not well in ourselves, when actually, when we look at life and ourselves through this lens of needs, everything can be transformed. So my memory is not great with things like this, but it's stuff like, the basic ones. We need to be heard. We need to be seen. We need to be understood. We need to have a sense of belonging. We need to feel like we matter. We need a sense of contribution. We need to feel appreciated. We need connection. We need support. There's more and more. And it's, been life-changing just to start seeing myself with that lens, and knowing that if I don't feel good, it's probably because there's a need or a bunch of needs that aren't being met. And humans behave in ways unconsciously to get their needs met, but we're not aware of that. So if we behave in certain ways, or other people behave badly, and I put this in inverted commas, they're actually just trying to get a need met. So that has blown my mind, and continues to. It's continual learning, and so that has absolutely transformed the way that I see myself. I connect with myself. I connect with other people, And so it's changed my relationship with myself, my relationship with other people. And then the blooming or the blossoming of that is, it has the ripple.
Yep.
And so I feel better in myself, so that when my hormones do hit, I'm more stable.
You're feeling more aligned.
Yeah.
Yeah. I understand that completely.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. When you were reading the list, instead of going, yep, inside I could feel me saying, yeah. And you never, you sort of don't set aside time, do you, to say, okay, my needs, Michelle, today, what are the needs that I need meeting today?
Yeah.
And I guess your needs will be different based on where you are in your cycle.
Yeah.
More circle.
Yeah.
But in your cycle.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that makes total sense now you've said that.
Yeah.
Because we need different things at different times in the month, don't we?
Absolutely.
Or 4 months or 5 months or whatever I am.
Like sometimes I thrive, a lot of the time, on connection and like social time. And then other times I just want solitude.
Yes.
And it's honouring that.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. And it's even like silly things, like sometimes, and like Lou, we've like busy households where there's people coming in and out, and we've said it to each other before, as much as I love having a really busy household, sometimes I feel really overwhelmed because I know I just need that quiet space, and so I'll come and sit in here, or I'll go and sit in my little office and sort of close the door and just kind of try and have a bit of time, or obviously go for a walk. But sometimes you really need that solitude, don't you? And like you, I love communicating with other people and sort of just spending time with other people. We're much the same in that, aren't we? But sometimes you do want just that bit of time out, especially when you're busy and you've got so many things filtering through in your head.
I think as well, it's really hard to understand that about yourself if you don't give yourself time and space to understand that.
Yeah.
So much like you were saying, if someone's angry, it's one of those needs hasn't been met, but they don't necessarily understand that one of those needs hasn't been met. So, that's really interesting in of itself. Like, how do we learn that? And I feel really strongly that we learn that in our communication with others. So in communication with you, in communication with other people that communicate with me in that way, I'm learning as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's, like you were saying about that ripple effect, I absolutely, truly believe that. And we've gone beyond now. I often, and I've said this to you before, talk about, Maslow's hierarchy of needs and, the basic needs. And, we're working up that ladder to... oh my gosh, I can't remember what the final one is.
The top bit.
It begins
it's like
with
self-actualization.
Actualization, thank you. But it's so far beyond that, isn't it? And we don't actually, it's bonkers. But I can understand completely what you're saying now.
So in a way then, we don't really know ourselves that well if we're only living on the surface level of getting up, getting food ready, taking kids to school, or going to work, or coming home and watching TV. We're not kind of getting in touch with these deeper needs. So of course we're going to be all over the shop.
Exactly.
And even more so when you've got different times in your cycle, and even more so when you're in perimenopause.
Yeah.
So that teaches us that we need to learn about ourselves.
It's very hard work, isn't it? Because with that, you've got to have the language to be able to apply it. Yeah. So, this is feeling really crappy for me right now. Yeah. Why is it feeling really crappy for me?
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't got the vocab to be able to assign to it. Yeah. So that's really difficult in itself, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think NVC has given me that vocab, and that's the starting point is having the vocab for it, because I didn't before, and that's why these lists were like, oh my god, there's words for the stuff that I'm feeling. And I think and another layer is the shame that we've often kind of internalized about having needs. And as women, putting other people before ourselves,
guilt and selfish. It isn't selfish to take time out and to look after yourself. It isn't.
But I feel quite strongly that it's so much more than, the self-care. We've all got to look after ourselves, kind of almost, it's become almost a bit flippant, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Don't forget to take time out of yourself. Do you need a bath? Actually, it's so much deeper than that. It's this stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really quite... it's deep work and it's hard. It's hard work sometimes. Yeah. Wow, we went off on a bit of tangent there. So, the non-violent communication. So, not only is that to yourself, that then has a natural effect to those around you.
Oh,
because
massively.
when you're talking to yourself in that way, you're talking to others in that way. And then other things change, don't they? Situations change because you're showing up in a different way.
Yeah.
And so then you mentioned circle.
Yes.
So can you tell us a bit about circle?
So circle. So I have been sitting in circles for coming up to 16 years now.
Wow. Okay.
So it's a way of life for me.
How did you come to it, Liv? I don't know your
Well,
with that.
so my journey from my recovery journey brought me into the rooms of recovery, which aren't called circle, but they are circles.
Yeah.
So my history is substance addiction and self-harm and depression and complex PTSD and all the things.
Yeah.
And nearly 16 years ago, I came into recovery and in 12-step fellowships where people sit around in circles and take it in turns to share. And it's a space where I experienced a sense of belonging for the very first time.
Okay.
I heard an old timer talk about that, and I was like, oh, "That's how I feel." So again, the vocabulary and like the experience of that. So so sitting in circle for the first time, I felt a sense of belonging. I felt like there was space for my voice, like I could be heard and witnessed and held. And for me, I was very, very, very emotional and very, very, very raw in my early days. And I would be that person just crying, sat there crying my eyes out. And there's something about a room of people or a circle of people that can hold that in a way that for one person it can, if professional, that's their job. But like it can feel like a lot to hold someone in that space. But a circle of people, there's something like I don't know, like an energy weaving it all together and a strength in numbers. So I felt held.
Yeah.
I felt held in what I was going through. And also because it's a group, it felt there was a safety in that and a kind of, I don't know what the word, like a dissolving of intent. It was intense, but like if one person's holding that, it can feel like quite a lot, whereas there's something expansive. There's something expansive about being held in circle. And this sense of turn taking, this sense of no interrupting. I mean, we all judge, we're human beings, but there's an experience of non-judgment because we're not interjecting, we're not offering advice, we're not commenting, we're not overtly judging, we're not feedbacking, we're not complimenting, we're not oh god, I forgot my words just fall out of my brain.
We're all there with you, Olivia. Yeah.
There is a word, but I was just gone. It's different to a conversation. It's very different to a conversation. So I am where I am because of circles.
Wow.
And so my love of circles, there's magic and there's medicine in that. How often in life do we get to be in a space where we just get to share our internal world and be heard and held in that without someone trying to fix it, change it, fix it or change it, really, because that's what we do. We want to
natural instinct.
We want to. If someone, we want to help.
Yeah.
And actually, like being on the receiving end of somebody else trying to fix or trying to help, it can feel quite like stifling.
Yes.
Because often we need to find our own way. We need to find our own answers, and that's what sitting in circle can allow and give space for. And we also learn about ourselves because we see ourselves mirrored in other people, and that's a learning in itself. So somebody else sharing can help us find our own answers.
Yes.
So someone sharing their experience, so they're not offering us anything directly, they're just sharing their experience, but that causes this like wonderful internal reflection, and sometimes we can find our own answers just with that. And there's an absence of squashing because it's someone just sharing their life experience. So I love circles. And that's probably only just like the tip of it.
Yeah.
And then, in 2020, I started holding them because I wanted to bring circle into the kind of local community for people that aren't just alcoholics.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to bring it into like everyday people's lives. So I've been holding circles ever since then.
Amazing.
Yeah, and so I sit in circle now. I don't go to recovery circles anymore, but so I hold 3 circles every week minimum, and then I kind of fold in some extra ones as well. So I have, like they run as monthly memberships.
Yeah.
So some of the women that have been with me multiple years, and they come every week, and we sit in a circle every week, and we share our internal worlds. And it's also a sense of, even though we don't say it, there's often the experience of, oh my God, me too. So someone will share, and then someone else will share, go, oh my God, my experience, and then always bring it back to themselves. But that sense of, oh, me too, dissolves so much shame.
Yes. Yeah.
So much like, oh my God, there's something wrong with me because I feel like this. So to sit in those spaces where that is just happening, like organically and unfolding every week, it's medicine.
Yeah. It's magical, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think we learn so much from other people, don't we? Which is the whole reason that we wanted to do this podcast in the first place, on the bounce of experiences we'd had with perimenopause and not really having any experience, or like having support, but not having support from people who knew what you were going through, which is different, isn't it? But yeah, essentially it was to kind of like share stories and kind of help other people that are, well, I know it's helping, slightly different, but sort of just to kind of offer some different things that might shed a little light, so people can then go off and explore, on the back of this, we're probably going to have people that are going to be looking into their local circles and certainly into the book, which is called
Nonviolent Communication.
I've gone out of my head, but I'm definitely going to be looking that up.
Highly recommend. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, it's kind of like hitting this, obviously, you've been doing them for 5 years then now, circles.
Yeah.
And, I just don't know, I just feel like this, it's so important that we come together as women and talk about our experiences and our lives and things that have happened, because look how it's helping other people, even just by talking about yourself. In that space.
Yeah.
So no, it's magical, absolutely magical.
And I think it's ancient.
Yes,
it's ancient medicine.
Yes.
It's ancient wisdom, isn't it? That we've become so departed from, living in our little boxes, in our
with our
isolated.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And because we've been taught to go externally
Yes.
for all of our support.
Yes.
Like we've been taught that the doctors and all of those people know what's right for you more than you do, and we've almost like had our, it's going to sound extremely deep now, but we've had our power taken away because of the way that we've been, our culture has evolved in this way, hasn't it?
And our history, how it's been written,
absolutely. So I think what I found from coming to Circle was, I feel like I found my voice for the first time ever. I learned how to attach emotions to my feelings and work my way through that, and a lot of it was just by me processing while I was talking. And it was, you have those realizations. I had those realizations as I was talking, and there was no expectations that anybody would heal me, fix me, whatever. It was just by being in that space with other people in a non-judgmental way, I could just be completely myself. And and that, my first circle, which is a bit weird how I ended up in that place in the first place. So are you okay if I tell the story how you and I met?
Yeah.
So I just happened to see that there was a retreat going on. I didn't know Olivia at the time, and I just I'm going to go. And I'm like, it's not like me at all. And I went on my own. I didn't know anybody. I walked in the door and thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? This is so out of my comfort zone. But I obviously needed to be there for whatever reason, and sat in circle. In the first circle I sat in, I was really nervous because it was quite a big group at the time, and I just thought, oh no, I can't do this. And it was just a quick, I'm really nervous, so I'm not going to say much, and then passed it over to the next person. Yeah. But as we went along in the weekend, I realised some of my behaviour patterns were very much I would defer to other people all the time. So there was a point at which we were in a circle of 3, and I knew we were there was a time limit to it, and I knew that there was very little time left. And rather than take that time, I was like, no, don't worry about me. What do you think? And then at that point, I was like, wow, I do that. I did that. Why did I do that? So just unpicking that was massive for me. So then I feel like that weekend then just catapulted me into a whole host of other things and how I show up in the world. And it was just incredible just from that. Going up to that weekend where I didn't know anybody and just showed up, and then I made lots of friends and it was lovely. So it was incredible, really. But because when do we get the chance to really discover what we think about things, and unless we're having them in conversations with others, which is why we started this again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I feel like I've gone off it.
No, I think we do, though, don't we? It's stories.
Yeah.
Stories.
Yeah.
They're so important because it's how we've always learned. I mean, before they wrote things down, I mean, they would have only have passed on wisdom through talking, probably round a campfire or sat in a circle and shared. Don't eat that, that'll make you get the runs, or eat that, you'll be fine with that. That tastes really nice. That's rank, but it's good for you. But, all of those things, or this is plant medicine, or, or, just be careful of that. That's how we would have learned. And whereas now we are becoming more and more detached, aren't we, in this digital sort of world. And, while I know it's great, because obviously you can speak to your friends in Australia and see their faces and see all those sorts of things. So that's all sort of great stuff. If you want to see your friends in Australia, I don't know. But I don't know. It's kind of like people seem to stay perhaps isolated a little bit more now. Whereas, even when I see it from when we would be going out in the 90s and noughties or whatever you call them. And I was always out with friends, always. Most days I was out doing something. The weekend, my folks would be like, where are you going? Oh, I'm not sure yet, but I'll be back late. But I notice even in my own kids that they don't go out as much. They'll be chatting with their friends until silly o'clock in the morning, but they're not always out. And I just think being out and being together with other people in the same room, I just love it.
Yeah, seeing things from their perspective and learning from their, because that's another lovely thing about Circle is that, nobody is in there to give you advice because they don't live your life. They're not in your shoes. They've not come from where you've come from. So how can we offer advice and solutions to everybody?
Exactly. And I love this piece where, like, when we offer advice, we're doing it from our experience, from our lens, from our conditioning, and it's actually got nothing to do with the other person.
Yeah, that's really powerful in and of itself, isn't it? Just looking back on conversations I've had with people over the years, and you've got this innate feeling of, I really want to make everything better for you, okay, and so but then you come away from those conversations and you're like, I just, I don't know. I don't know the answers, but I'm here and I can put my arm around you and listen. Yeah. But actually just the idea of being in circle with people, and if someone shares something,
you know, there are other people sat in circle sharing their stories, and maybe, you know, and everyone's kind of picking up from each other. Yeah, something magical about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Get
wonder where
yourselves
that
to a
comes
circle.
from. You know, that whole need to
Yeah.
feel like we need to fix you. So
Yeah.
you come to me with
Yeah.
an issue,
Yeah.
I need to fix that. I
yes.
can't. So
Yeah,
where
I
does
don't
that
know.
come from? It's bizarre,
I don't
isn't
know.
it?
Yeah, it is bizarre.
I suppose it's
It
that
is.
whole nurturing. I want to make sure you're okay, and there's a lot bound
I think
up
there's
in that.
so many layers, and I think part of it is if we're not comfortable with our own internal experience, because emotions are contagious, aren't they? If someone we love isn't feeling good, then we feel that.
Oh, we do
Yeah.
feel it.
And I don't want to
we
feel that,
do.
so I want to
No.
fix you so I feel better.
Yeah, that's a really great way
I
of
think
thinking.
that is
Yeah.
that's definitely
Yeah.
a big
Yes.
piece
Yes.
to it.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I went through a phase with perimenopause where I could almost feel everybody's emotions. You know, someone would walk into a room and I could feel it, and I'd be like, oh my God, they're feeling really heavy, and I really need to help them because I've felt that heaviness and it's horrible, and how can I help? But obviously, listening to you, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't. You can be there.
Yeah.
You can be there and you can listen, but that's hard in itself as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna get myself this new book. It's not new because it's been around from the 60s and 70s.
Michelle's got a thing about books.
Hang on a minute. Michelle's got a thing about books.
I think we all have a thing about. Do we all have a thing about books?
Well, I know Daniel does.
A book recently, and I've been and bought it. It's just sitting there at the moment.
Which one?
I don't. The power of something. Oh, I don't know. But you told me to buy a book, and it's sitting on my bookshelf, ready to be.
Oh,
read.
the focusing.
Focus on. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
a beautiful book.
What's the title?
The Power of Focusing,
Power
which
of
is a
Focusing.
strange type. It's not, because it's actually a really, really gentle,
okay.
like somatic practice.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's one of those things that's really gentle, but has a power to it in its gentleness.
yes,
And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
yes, maybe a slightly odd title, but it's,
Yeah. So I don't know.
We'll put a little note in the show notes with
Oh,
all the book
yeah,
titles.
yeah.
Yeah. Any more?
there probably will be some.
So I'm currently listening to Sharon Blackie, If Women Rose Rooted.
Okay, yeah, wonderful.
Oh,
yeah.
my
Is this the first time
goodness.
you've...
First time
Okay,
I've read it, yeah. So
okay.
I've just finished Haggitude.
Oh.
So then I've gone on to If Women Rose Rooted. So I'm just listening to that at the moment, and it's just, yeah. So I've already bought two copies, and I'm going to give, I'm going to give it away.
Don't tell her to who to. Well, I bought one of her. I've got If Women Rose Rooted. I've not read that one yet, and obviously Haggitude is there. But the one she's just released, that Wise Women, Myths and Stories for Midlife and Beyond. So that's there to delve into as well. But I just keep buying the books, and I really need to plug into... I want to develop something where literally I do this, and I don't know why, but I feel like I want to be able to put my hand on a book, close my eyes and absorb. And I think somewhere, if we only use 3 or 4% of our brains, I'm sure somewhere we can tap into that. So if anyone knows how to do it, please let us know.
I think you would do yourself a massive disservice. So
Do
one of the
you?
things that I am finding with If Women Rose Rooted, because I'm listening to it, I love her voice as well. She's got such a gorgeous voice. So I'm listening to it rather than reading it because it's just easier for me in my day-to-day life. But I have to keep switching it off because I have to keep processing what she's saying and really
you would
reflecting
miss
on
that.
how that resonates with me in my life and I keep coming up with really big light bulb moments and so I've only got I'm only in chapter 2 and I've been listening to it for ages because I'm having to keep stopping it just to process. So if we did that whole
we would.
We'd miss out on so much.
Yeah.
It's part of the journey, Michelle. It's not
really
the destination.
But similarly, I've been doing it, Women Who Run with the Wolves, Clarissa Pinkola Estes. So her book is quite a chunky book, isn't it? So I literally read that a bit like how you're reading that one. I'll go in and read a little bit and then I'll come away from it and then I'll read a little bit more and then I'll come away from it and then I'll listen to something based on it and I'll read something that I've found out about it and listening to all the archetypes and stuff and you need it to sink in. So yeah,
Yeah.
all right, maybe I don't want my hand to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I do with like research and information,
Yeah,
stuff like that I don't want to spend time.
I know, but it's retaining it.
It is
the retention,
retaining.
isn't it? That's the problem.
Oh my goodness, it's
Yeah.
retaining stuff. I mean, I don't know if I said this on the podcast, I think I probably did, but I read one of Paulo Coelho's books, Hippie, years and years ago.
Yeah.
And then took it on holiday a couple of years ago, and it wasn't until one line, about 2 pages from the end, that I was like, I've read that line before. And I was like, I've read that book before. But it literally was 2 pages from the end, and I was just like, sort of like, said to Tom, I've read, that's my husband, I was like, I've read this book before. And he was like, well, oh, okay, you've read it before. I was like, yeah, and he said, but you told me to buy it. I went, I know. So yeah, retention. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No
Yeah.
retention for anything.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever had.
I don't know if I do. I don't know. Because again, it goes to that circle thing of like, with this retention, is it down to where we are, like age and sort of like where we are in our life cycle? Or is it just because there's so much going on that we try to remember? You know, I more or less know everybody's patterns in the house. You know, when, you know, one of the boys has got to be at work, when, you know, when my youngest has got certain things on at school,
Yeah.
or when they've got after school stuff, or... And so you have all of that going on in your head. So no one looks at a calendar. It's just Mum or Shell or, you know, just to find out. So you have all those things. Plus then you have all your own things that are sort of like earmarked in your head. And then all the things you want to do and all the things that you love and want to spend more time finding out about. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know whether it is perimenopause and being, you know, for me, nearly 50, or whether it is... Oh my God, Michelle, please don't put anything else in your head.
But I think also just normal day-to-day life as well, because, you know, even something so similar, simple.
Yeah, simple.
Simple. So something so simple as, you know, make an appointment for the GP, for example,
Yes.
right? So, okay, I've got something I need to deal with, so I need to make an appointment with the GP. Okay, so I can't do that right now while I'm thinking about it, because I won't be able to get one now.
Yep.
I'll have to ring in the morning.
Yes.
So then I have to remember tomorrow now, I'm going to have to get up at, or whatever, I'm going to have to ring at specifically this time and get an appointment. And so it's just constant little hoops that you have to jump through. And that's just one thing in your life.
Of course
So
it
if
is.
you've got that for a whole host of things,
Yeah.
then it's no wonder that our brains are so full
Yeah,
of everything.
overcrowded.
Of just life.
Yeah.
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 Anyway, we digressed again.
We always digress.
Yeah.
So after you said about circle, you said something else, I think.
Seed cycling.
Seed
Seed
cycling.
Yes, I don't think I know what that means.
I don't either.
Ooh.
So it's not gardening.
No.
Okay.
So it's eating seeds for the different parts of your cycle.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard of that.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember because it is alphabetical. So the first half, so days 1 to 14, is flax and pumpkin seeds.
Okay.
And the second half of the cycle is sesame and sunflower.
Okay.
And so I have a heaped tablespoon in my smoothie every morning, and that's what helps me stick to it, because I'm very bad with habits and sticking to things.
We all are, aren't
So
we?
having it as like, I've built that into my routine.
Yeah.
So it's there by the blender, and so I started doing that probably a good few years ago now. And as I say, like in combination with everything else, it seemed to do something. It seemed to, so like I say, the PMDD started to kind of dissipate and be a lot softer, and then one day it just kind of wasn't really there. And I think a lot of it is to do with the seed cycling as well, because it's all to do with like what it does, each seed does with your hormones and blah blah. And it was working so well that I was like, I don't need to do this anymore. So I stopped doing it, and I was like, is it really working? Is it this? Is it not? And so I stopped taking it. And I started to notice difference again.
No way, really?
Yeah. So like that week, you started to feel like more intense. And I was like, right, I'm going back on my seeds. So, and I still do, even though my cycle's a bit erratic now, I still do it. And then my day one is like in a different place. But I'm, very much like wedded to my seed cycling, and I did the experiment of not doing it, and it seemed to, so...
That's really interesting because I do pumpkin and sunflower seeds every day,
Okay.
pretty much,
Yeah.
in my yogurt in the morning with some fruit.
Okay.
I'd never even contemplated doing it, separately like that. Because I should imagine it's something to do with the minerals and the nutrients in it that are having an effect on you.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I have those, and then I've also, because I've got them in a jar and I just mix loads together, and then I've also added in flax, chai seeds, and pine nuts, I think, and literally just have a couple of tablespoons in with my yogurt and fruit and stuff in the morning. But don't separate them out.
Yeah.
And never really looked at them. I just thought, seeds, that'll be good for me,
Yeah.
and they taste nice. And that was the science.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I especially with my hormone headaches, I'll like try and just eat more sesame seeds because because it increases estrogen or something like that. I don't quote me on it. And I think that's what the headaches are, like a complete like estrogen's just gone.
Yeah.
So I try where possible to do things like naturally.
Yeah.
So eat my way out of a headache. But
It's the way to do it if you can. If you can do it though.
Yeah. And I've noticed as well. I think you're both vegan, aren't you? So
I'm vegetarian
yeah.
now.
Okay. But I've been craving fish.
Yeah.
Like craving it. And I've discovered tinned fish. I've read somewhere that it's good for perimenopause.
Yeah.
And craving it. So I have this massive stack of like mackerel and tins in my cupboard.
For when you get the craving.
Yeah, and I've literally sent it to a friend. I was like, tell me you have perimenopause. And I just eat it out of the tin over the sink. And like my body is craving this.
That is
and
bonkers,
I've noticed
isn't it?
how the craving is in the second half of the cycle. So the first half I'm like, it's all right, fish. And the second half I'm like, give me fish. And it's,
No, I'm
So,
laughing along with you because
yeah.
like, I'd been vegetarian for, oh my God, since I was 12 or 13.
Okay.
And about 5, when this all started, I started then having fish.
Okay.
And I can't remember whether it was an intense craving or a knowing in my body that would help. There was something because it made me sort of just start to eat fish.
Yeah.
And so I do.
Yeah.
I know. It took me a little while to go, and then I was just like, no, I feel like I really need, I need this. So yeah, it's bizarre.
Yeah.
Perimenopause is bonkers.
Yeah.
And it's just the oddness of some of the cravings or symptoms. That, it's okay. So that's seed cycling.
Yeah.
Anything else after seed cycling? I'm just gonna have to buy loads more books.
Those, I would say probably those are the, breathwork, MVC, circles, seed cycling are my,
go-tos.
go-to things. And then I suppose there's singing as well.
Yes. Tell us about singing.
Singing. So all of these things that I would say have kind of like been life-changing, life-altering for me. And I discovered singing 3.5 years ago. 3.5, coming up to 4 years ago. I always thought I couldn't sing. And then there was an advert for a local community choir that said, all perceived singing abilities welcome. And I was like, maybe. And they had some videos online. I was like, no, I can't go. They're too good. But somehow, somewhere in me, I was like the little tiny little whisper of courage. I was like, okay, I'll go. And like, you came to the retreat on your own. I didn't know anyone. I was just like, I just turned up, and it was like probably one of the best things I ever did in my life.
Wow.
And from then on, I've just hooked. And now I sing in another choir as well. And it just brings me so much joy. There's so much joy. And at the time I was caring for my dying mum and living with her as well, and life was very intense and very big and very heavy, and this juxtaposed that in just every way I needed it to. And I always say I'm not a doctor or anything. I'm not a diagnostician. I don't prescribe things. I rarely make suggestions to people, but if I was going to prescribe something, it would be singing.
Wow. Okay.
Because it is the joy it brings, and the connection as well. The connection with the people, the community,
voices,
finding our voice. I think there's some, sitting in circle, definitely. I think singing has unlocked something in me as well. It's made me more brave and comfortable using my voice. It's given me a very visceral, very real, very embodied experience of what it feels like to walk through fear and do something that felt impossible. So I talk about it in terms of it was an embodied experience of the impossible becoming possible, and what that had, again, the ripple that's had in my life.
Yeah.
So again, medicine and singing.
So you've gone from this place of feeling like you couldn't sing to being in this absolutely incredible choir and everything that brings. Yeah. But just that belief in yourself and the confidence that has grown from that is incredible, isn't it? And it is a real gift.
Yeah.
Were you? Did you ever sing as a child?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
I did as a child. That's really interesting.
So I sang a solo from Oliver when I was 9 years old, and I have this very, very vague memory of it, and being like terrified, just little me sitting on the end of the stage, and like just a big audience of people. So I sang as a child, and I remember being with a group of us being taken out of class sometimes so we could sing Beatles songs to like the younger kids when I was like 10 years old. So I had a voice, I could sing as a child, and then from 12 years old I just diverted on a very rebellious, destructive path. So I just lost it, and so it was like 30 odd years, around 30 years of not singing. Yeah. So so that's a thread, like reconnecting to something that was there.
Yeah. And joyful for you as well. Because we have talked about that before as well, because that I really do feel like that is a thing that, we kind of forget we automatically do all these things as children, don't we? Because we try them. We try loads of different things. But as we get older, you lose that ability because it becomes scary, and you almost like don't know what it is you want to do, and perhaps don't take as many risks because it's embarrassing, or you don't know if you're going to be any good at it, or anything like that. So it's really quite important, I think, that we do kind of connect with that and find things that we're interested in and enjoy and bring you joy. Yeah, because it has a knock-on effect to everything then, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And you never know where it's going to take you, do you?
Yeah. It was literally taking me to Denver, Colorado this summer.
Okay, explain.
We're singing at a international competition.
Oh my goodness!
In a stadium. And
That's
this is someone who 3.5 years ago thought I couldn't sing.
Wow.
Okay. So it's kind of it's bonkers.
It's bonkers. It's brilliant bonkers. That's the sort of brilliant bonkers you want, isn't it?
So my whole chorus, we're flying to America and we're going to sing in the competition.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm absolutely blown away by that. That's incredible.
Yeah. But as you say, Lou, it's like it's so much more than that. It is the ripple of like this inner self-confidence and how that's rippled, and how like trust in my capacity to grow and hold stuff, and probably maybe just reflecting on it now almost makes the whole perimenopause thing slightly less scary, because I trust in my capacity to be with it. Yeah. And yes, it's scary, and yes, it's uncertain, but I can do it. Yeah. I can do it. And it's going to be a wild ride. It already has been, and I'm only at the start. So I am at the start. So maybe in 5 years' time. But
But already though, you're building like support networks, and you've already got your tools in place with the things you've already spoken about. You know, and obviously you have connections with other people, other women that are further along their journey.
Yeah.
And I think it's all really important, isn't it? Sort of like having that.
Yeah. I'm sure I didn't call you when I went away like a few months ago. I was like, I'm having a perimenopause moment.
Yeah.
They get more frequent.
Or not.
You might have a period. Or not. But, you know, I mean, it's great. It's great to be able to just even have that conversation.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if you're going into work, or if you work for yourself or whatever, and just going, white feathers falling down outside. Oh, thank you. But, you know, just being able to sort of like sit with it yourself and just be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Or be able to have the conversation going into work. You know, I know we've chatted about that before, haven't we? I've just moved jobs, and certainly the place I'm now working in, if I walk in and go, oh my God, I'm having a moment, I know full well it will be totally respected and met with a cup of tea and maybe a slice of cake or a bit of our chocolate.
Yeah.
Something that probably won't help, but will in that moment.
A cake always helps.
I don't think there's ever a place where cake is
Definitely not. So yeah, I mean, it's a journey, and there are so many things that, well, for me personally, that I feel like I'm discovering about myself.
Yeah.
And hurdles I've had to get over, but actually, you know, kind of like having darker experiences of life and just bringing that kind of, I don't know, when you come out the other side of it, bringing that little light with you.
Absolutely,
and be able to kind of go, okay, there was a reason that happened to me. I made it happen, whatever that is. There's a reason that happened, because I needed to learn that lesson and shimmy past it and bring the knowledge with me or whatever. So yeah, we're pretty amazing, aren't we, as women? I am actually really happy to be a woman.
Yeah, I think as much as, you know, having the perimenopause symptoms and stuff is really like unsettling a lot of the time, and you don't know what day, what's going to happen on what day. The sense of freedom and empowerment that I've got now is something I've never had before.
No.
And I was thinking this morning, I'd have been really worried about that like 5 years ago, and I'm like, no, not worried about that anymore. And it's very different, and I don't think I'd ever anticipated this level of growth.
No.
I
get that.
think I just expected that I was always going to be the same, and I expected that I was always going to think the same, and I was always going to do the same, and actually my life is completely different now.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. You kind of grow up thinking that you're not going to really change, don't you? Your mindset's not really going to change, and then it changes quite a lot.
I was listening to a podcast today about economics, which is something that I thought, I don't know anything about money, I don't know anything about those kind of things, and I'm not even going to try and understand it. And I was listening to it about economic policy and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, if you'd have told me 5 years ago I'd be listening to a podcast about economic policy, I don't know, that's not me, obviously. But I was sitting there thinking, why did I think this was all so difficult? It's all just ideas.
Okay.
It's all just...
Well, that's something interesting in itself, right? why did you think it? Yeah, why did you
But
not
this
think
is it. I've had this whole thing of putting myself in a box all of these years, thinking that I can't do... no, you're not very bright, you can't do that. Don't even try. And all of a sudden I'm like, why did I think this was all so difficult? I've just got to apply myself. If I should apply some of my interest to something, I can do anything. And wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
It's like we often say, just do the thing. It's like we have an idea and it's like, should we just do that? Yeah, let's just do the thing. And it's like, all of a sudden, we're doing an event or we're doing this, that and the other. And it's just like, we're just doing it. We're just going with the flow. I'd got this fear for so long that is now shifted. And it's opened up a whole world.
Yes.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And amazing.
It's crazy.
Cramazing.
The other day, I was trying to write fire circle, and I kept writing circle. I was like, oh my gosh, Michelle is rubbing off on me, making one word out of two.
I can't help it because there's so many amazing words that you need to say, so you've got to say two at the same time. Maybe we should make up our own dictionary. Every word is 2 or more words banged together.
Isn't that what Germans do? Isn't that the German language? Yeah, they put loads of words together.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we all need to
Make
stick
one word. They have really, really, really long words, which is basically just a bunch of words mixed
Stuck
together.
together.
Like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can't think of an example, but they do.
We'll take your word for it. Oh, I'll have to have a look. But, yeah, oh, wow.
Okay, so it's quite exciting times then, really, isn't it? And I think that's the thing. We are going through this quite sludgy time, and it can feel quite heavy.
Of course it can.
And I think it's understanding that one day is you might be feeling really terrible. Beginning of this week, I felt awful.
Yeah.
So I just
Same.
took myself into my little hole
Yeah.
and just thought I'll feel better in a couple of days.
Yeah.
And hence I have.
Yeah.
But it's just being kind to ourselves, isn't it, as much as anything else.
And it's this sense, of like so many things. The perimenopause is for me definitely a sense of both and. Like I think everything is both and. It's both challenging and unsettling and destabilizing, and it's a time for continual growth and expansion and learning and re-emergence of old patterns. You're like, oh, it's still there, and like an invitation for deeper self-discovery and exploration and something. And so this sense of both and. It's both challenging and it's amazing. And I'm a big believer in holding space for that complexity.
Yeah.
And just kind of almost connecting back to what we were saying earlier about shared experience and the value in that. I'm much more interested in that than someone telling me that it's one or the other.
Yeah.
And I think that's, I've heard people say, it's a wonderful time. And I'm like, don't tell me when my nose is bleeding randomly that this is a fucking... Sorry, am I allowed to Go for it. This is a fucking wonderful time. Like, that's another symptom I've had. Like, random nosebleeds.
Oh, I thought you were going to say saying fuck.
That's it. That's a constant.
My random ones, I say that a lot more than I used to.
I think I've been quite tame. I've not swore once yet today.
This is a wonderful... No, it's not.
No.
Like, it's not wonderful. Or, like, people saying, it's all terrible. It's like, no, it's not all terrible.
Yes.
It's not all one or the other. Please don't tell me it's one or the other. For me, it's definitely... I want to lean in to embrace the both.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's why it's really important to just speak from our own experience
Exactly.
as well, isn't it?
Exactly.
Because who are we to tell anybody?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we hold really dear, is that everybody has got their own experience.
Yeah.
And we're only ever talking from our own experience, right?
Yeah.
So I can only ever say, well, if you want to hear what happened to me, this is what happened to me, and this is what I did, and it helped me, but it might not be the same for you.
Yeah.
Human beings.
Yeah.
We're so complex, aren't we? But so magical.
Yeah. And we're all coming at it from a different place.
Of course we are.
So I'm coming at this from a space of complex, healing, complex PTSD and addiction and all of these things. And this is my history that is coming with me into this. So I'm going to have a different experience to someone that's not had that.
Yes. Yeah.
So if someone, I don't know, but maybe if someone hasn't had that, they're like discovering themselves for the first time.
Yes.
Then it can feel, oh, this is amazing. Well, actually, for me, it's like, I'm bumping up against old stuff again, and there's nothing that doesn't feel amazing all the time.
Yeah.
So, and then you've got neurodiversity in there as well. So we're all coming at this from a different place.
Yes, we are.
So, and what works for one person isn't going to work for others, and it's wildly complex. And who are we to tell somebody else what they're feeling or going to feel? And I've had people go, it's just going to get worse. I'm like, that's not helpful either.
It's not helpful to anybody.
No.
Some days are tricky, but some days are wonderful. So,
and that's life, right?
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
just menopause.
It is life.
Yeah,
It is.
I mean, men, women, children. We're all going to be going through similar complexities that nobody else is necessarily going to know what they're bringing with them.
No.
It's we're complex as human beings, right?
Damn
and
right.
exciting.
And exciting.
Exciting, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you ever so much for coming in and having a chat with us today,
thank you
Olivia.
for having
really,
me.
really enjoyed this
Yeah, it's
podcast,
been
and
brilliant.
again,
Thank
could
you.
just sit and chat. I probably will do after the episode. So thanks ever so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you.
So lovely. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Wild, Wise and Curious. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, feel free to email us at info@wildwiseandcurious.com or reach out on our socials at wild_wise_and_curious. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Stay curious and we'll see you next time.